Pettersson's waiting, Hughes is waiting, and it does. I mean, this is a two-pack, right? Like we talked about the Leafs 3 years in a row, or 2 years in a row, really, because Matthews was done mid-season.
Yeah. Right.
Willie did his thing. Mitch went through his thing. But this is, the two faces of the organization, the billboards, the guys that everyone loves in that town, and he's got to deal with both of them at the same time. So how is this going to play out?
Yeah, it's a stare down, and it's creating havoc in Vancouver for Canucks fans. Look, negotiations go the way they go, but you're now looking at the start of the NHL regular season, not that far down the path here, and really they're no closer. They're not. And what doesn't help is the recent signing. So Kaprizov gets 5x9 from the Minnesota Wild. When you look point per game, which of course the agents are going to lean on, neck and neck with Elias Pettersson. The problem is Pettersson has more games played in the NHL. So that doesn't help Vancouver in that perspective. The money's probably got to be more if you're positioning from a player's standpoint. And then Rasmus Dahlin gets the bridge, 3 years at $6 million per. And Quinn Hughes is going, okay, well, I'll take your bridge. I prefer 4, 5, or 6, but I'll take your bridge. It's just got to be above $6.5 million per, based on what Dahlin just signed in Buffalo. So, what is a little perplexing, I think, is that so much work was done by the Vancouver Canucks in the offseason. Dating back to the trade that they made, acquiring Ekman Larsson and Connor Garland, and then they extend Connor Garland. How do you leave those two kids until the end? So it's a tough one to be sure.
It is, and you throw in Brady Tkachuk. Am I correct that all three of them are skating together, right? They're all training together, and that's the toughest thing. I've said this, and I know it's in a microcosm, but these kids, if they sign long-term deals, this is 2 weeks of their life that it's not that big of a deal. But my biggest challenge when I see guys, and this isn't a holdout, they don't have contracts, so it's a stalemate, we'll call it. You always, it's tough to get on a moving train. Like it's almost clockwork, like either slow start or an injury or something like that. Vancouver can't afford that right now.
No,
they need a good season. I thought Jimmy Benning had a fantastic summer. I know we had some fun with the Ekman Larsson, looking like Al's brother out there in the skate. But ultimately, like he's going to be a good player for them because he's going to slot behind Hughes. But Hughes isn't there. And same thing, Ottawa wants to take the next step this year. Face of the franchise is not signed yet.
Yeah, too many questions in Ottawa. I applaud Pierre Dorion for being as confident as he was not that long ago when he emerged and said, look, we're turning the corner here. The rebuild is over. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, when you look at the assets that the Sens have acquired, I mean, there's lots of promise. There's no doubt about that. They've got good young pieces. But look up the middle of the ice. Shane Pinto looks like he's played well in preseason. It's early in the preseason. So are you hoping he's going to develop this year into your number 2 center? And if he doesn't, they're lean up the middle. And they're generally lean across their forward court. So you take out Brady Tkachuk for any amount of time, and that makes it more problematic. And to your point, Noodles, there is no guarantee that the Ottawa Senators are going to pick up where they left off and that they're going to get going right out of the gate. If a skid, if a slide turns into a skid, you're never getting those points back. So they're working hard. It's still an amicable process, I'm told, between Newport and the Tkachuk camp and the Ottawa Senators. But at the end of the day, it feels like they're grinding over the obvious, aren't they? If Brady's going to accept that long term, then he's going to need bonus money and he's going to need a little protection, all that. Otherwise, he's going to look at what Brother Matthew has done in Calgary, and he's going to fight for that bridge. And what's that bridge number going to look like? It's going to be too much for Ottawa.